Proper books and records, common mistakes taxpayers make while signing up for Eservices, the new safety protocols if you desire to transact business with the GRA, and who can register for value-added tax. This is Focus on GRA, and I'm your host, Nikisha Castello. This week we will delve into those subjects and answer some of your most common questions in your questions in focus. So stay tuned, we've got you covered in all of this and more after these short messages.
When it comes to healthcare, we all want the best hospitals, the best doctors, and the best treatment. But sometimes the best comes at a heavy cost. Well, the good news is you don't have to worry about VAT on medical, dental, hospital, optical, or paramedical services. There's also no VAT on orthopedic appliances like hearing aids or others that are implanted on the body to compensate for a defect or disability. Sounds like good news to help you feel better for the best.
We want the best facilities that this country could ever see, the best infrastructure and public utility, the best education for children in this country, the best health services and public security. But if we want to see such development in every community, then we must be fair and pay we full share of taxes and duty. Want proper bridges and coca, pay your tax. Better roads and safer, pay your tax. Better electric power, pay your tax. Clear potable water, pay your tax. Better schools and teacher, pay your tax. Better nurses and doctor, pay your tax. Better police and soldier, pay your tax. For a better Guyana, pay your tax.
Meet Cindy.
Meet Shivani.
Cindy is using the old tax software to assist taxpayers,
While Shivani is using the new optimal software where everything is stored electronically and is easily accessible.
Optimal Revenue Management System. Let's get ready for 2021.
Welcome back. You're watching Focus on GRA. All business conducting commercial or non-commercial services, especially for profit, must keep proper books and records for a period of 8 years. These records include a number of documents, as VAT inspectors may inquire from your business these items at any point in time. Let's learn more.
All persons or businesses registered for VAT must maintain books and records for a period of 7 years. Section 60 and Regulation 9 of the VAT Act outlines all the books and records a registrant needs to maintain. Some of these books and records include original tax invoices, tax credit and debit notes received by the person or business, bank statements, copies of customs import and export documents, and any other records related to the business, including correspondences and audit reports. Manager of VAT Audit and Enforcement, Selma Garnett, stresses one more important books and records you should be maintaining.
Most important, we would like the taxpayers to maintain summarized schedules of your purchases and sales information, which should have the particulars, the date, brief description of the item, and the VAT stated separately.
All books and records must be maintained in English. Any foreign money accounted for in the records must be converted to Guyanese dollars at the exchange rate at the time the amount was taken into account. Failure to maintain books and records for VAT purposes could result in civil and criminal penalties as outlined in Section 73 and 83 of the VAT Act. Ms. Garnett notes that the GRA has a robust compliance program through which it works with taxpayers to ensure that proper books and records are maintained as mandated by the law.
We have a robust compliance program where we have our compliance officers do random checks at businesses. In cases where you're not maintaining proper books and records, we issue a warning letter and we give you a time by which you can put these systems in place. We also inform you that all of our facilities are available if you need assistance in getting up to speed with us and the programs that we have running in relation to books and records.
Current COVID restrictions has limited physical outreaches, but Ms. Garnett explains that GRA officers are available virtually and via telephone to ensure greater compliance with books and records.
We have a program where we're working in several different areas. We have several projects in that area going on. So due to COVID, we are not going out physically, but we are calling and requesting the information and reviewing records, checking to ensure that you are keeping up with your statutory obligation and seeing what assistance we can provide you.
Maintaining books and records for VAT purposes is beneficial to a VAT registrant. Ms. Garnett says properly maintained records is as good as money.
If you don't maintain those records, then your input tax would be disallowed. You need the input tax to offset against the output tax, and it is really the difference that you pay to the Guyana Revenue Authority. So you recover your input first before you pay over to us. The less input you have, the more you have to pay over to us. So you have to maintain proper records in order to assist you there. That is one of the major benefits of having those records.
Proper books and records are also important for audit purposes, Ms. Garnett adds.
When we come to you and you don't have the proper books and records, we're forced to use indirect methods, estimating your income, and so as opposed to if you would have given us the necessary information.
To ensure you are maintaining the proper books and records for VAT purposes, you can contact our tax advisory services. The GRA's website also has information on the books and records you need to keep.
Optimal Revenue Management System, RMS, rolled out its new Eservices platform in March of this year. Thousands flocked to register for the service. However, more than half encountered a mistake or two while registering. Let's learn how you can avoid making these common mistakes and delay your sign-up process.
Since the launch of Optimal Revenue Management System, RMS, in March 2021, the GRA has noticed some common mistakes made by taxpayers while utilizing the service. The Optimal RMS was designed to be user-friendly, to facilitate online services and the management of tax affairs from your homes or offices. However, during the busy tax season, business analyst Delroy Carrington observed that some taxpayers were making common mistakes, which prolonged their sign-up process.
During this year, we would have received a large volume of returns using the e-service. However, we still find that there's a large gap in terms of the persons signing up for e-service and those actually continuing the process to submit returns via e-service. And that is because many persons would have made some mistakes in terms of during the sign-up process, which would have hindered their proper registration and their ability to use the e-service as we would have liked. Some of those mistakes where the persons would have specified a username that is not in keeping with what the instructions were given on the website, such as they needed to use their TIN as their username. And that would have also helped us in terms of associating that user account to the taxpayer, his or herself or company, to efficiently transact e-service business.
For individuals, the registration process is relatively easy. Simply go to www.eservices.gra.gov.gy/login. Click Create an Account and fill in the necessary information into their respective fields. Elizabeth Bourne from the IT support team noted that some of the most common mistakes were made during the registration process.
A few mistakes that taxpayers make. First of all, they don't use their TIN as their username. Sometimes they use things like, say, for example, Elizabeth Bourne or just eBourne as their username. That is incorrect. Sometimes they make mistakes with their email addresses. Instead of putting Gmail, they spell the mail incorrect. Another thing that taxpayers do, they forget to click on the confirm activation link when they initially sign up for the service.
After registering for the account, the taxpayer will be directed to their email to verify and log into their account. The second step requires the taxpayer to send us a message asking to be linked to the account. This can be done by hovering over the Inbox tab, select New Message, selecting Taxpayer eServices registration as the subject, and attaching a copy of identification, such as the national ID card, by a page of passport or driver's license. Mr. Carrington notes that many taxpayers either neglect this phase or send the wrong type of documentation to file a return. After the GRA vets the information, the taxpayer is advised to continuously check their messages on the Eservices website, especially if there were mistakes made during the registration process.
So after one would have activated their account after clicking the email that would have been sent to them, they were required to upload the documents or specified documents such as the ID, copy of their driver's license for identification purposes. What we would have found is that many persons did not follow the prescribed instructions, and they submitted all forms of documents such as their tax return, all various types of documents which we could not have used for identification purposes to associate them with their tax account.
After completing these phases, the taxpayer can file a tax return. Some businesses are also making common mistakes during the registration and messaging phases.
They use their name. Say, for example, the company is Jim Jones Trading. They put Jim Jones as the first name and Trading as the last name when it should be a representative of the company. Say, for example, Tom Jones. So that's one of the common mistakes that businesses make. Also, they would just submit the registration document. For companies, we expect them to submit the registration document along with the page that speaks to who are the directors and the company secretary, because thereafter we want them to submit an authorization letter. That authorization letter should state the name of the person who will be transacting the business on behalf of that company, and the authorization will be signed by one of the directors or the company secretary who is on that article of association with the names of the directors and company secretary. So that's one thing that the businesses make mistakes with.
Taxpayers with a tax agent must ensure their tax preparer or accountant is registered as a tax practice professional before requesting this feature. If he or she is a compliant registrant, then the taxpayer must fill and sign the Eservices new or update sign-up form, which can be downloaded from GRA's website, www.gra.gov.gy. For additional information about Optimal, taxpayers are advised to visit www.gra.gov.gy/optimal.
The GRA wishes to remind unscrupulous importers seeking to manipulate the system for tax evasion that they will be penalized in accordance with the relevant legislation. This is with regard to the relief for freight charges to pre-pandemic levels. Manipulations discerned so far include the following: misinterpretation of the invoice date to reflect dates after August 1, 2021, even though the goods were shipped prior to August 1. Invoices reflecting only FOB and not CIF prices. Invoices reflecting lower prices or commodities and higher freight charges. In this regard, GRA is urging importers to be compliant and supply the correct invoices to the authority. Importers are further implored to pass such savings on to the consuming public. The GRA again advises that those found non-compliant will be subjected to additional taxes, fines, penalties, and imprisonment upon conviction. Coming up, we will learn about who can register for value-added tax and answer your questions in focus. Stay tuned.
Meet Tom.
Meet Harry.
Tom failed to update his banking information with the GRA and now has to go into the agency to receive his refund check.
While Harry is using the new Optimal software and his refund was successfully transferred to his bank account.
Optimal Revenue Management System. Let's get ready for 2021.
If you are a person with a disability and you are purchasing a vehicle designed for your use, here's some good news. You will be exempt from paying VAT and excise tax for that vehicle. It gets better. If you are converting a vehicle to be used by a person with a disability, that vehicle is also exempted from excise tax and VAT. This will have to be done to the satisfaction of the Commissioner General of the GRA.
As a remigrant, you can import more than one vehicles and pay no import duties, no VAT, and reduce excise tax. However, the total exemption cannot exceed $5 million. If it does, you will have to pay the additional duties and taxes. Did I mention that returning students are also entitled to the same benefit 6 months after settling in the country? For additional information and assistance, contact us 227-6060, extension 1201 to 1204.
VAT was introduced on January 1, 2007 and replaced 6 taxes, including consumption tax. A business must be registered for VAT once they meet various conditions as mentioned in this next feature.
Do you run a business trading goods or services? Then you may be mandated to register for VAT. Lavina Warren, the Assistant Commissioner of Inland Revenue within GRA's Tax Audit Division, provides a simple rule of thumb for determining whether the items you sell are taxable.
To know if you provide taxable supplies, the rule of thumb is just run through the exempt supply list. And once your item is not listed on the exempt supply list, which is Schedule 2 of the VAT Act, then you're making taxable supplies. Because we need to know that taxable supplies can be 0 rated, or it can be taxed at a rate of 16%, which we call, or 14% now, which is called standard rated. So if your items is listed on the 0 rated schedule and it's not listed on the exempt schedule, then you're providing taxable supplies.
If your business's taxable activity equals or exceeds $15 million at the end of 12 months, then according to the VAT Act of 2005, VAT registration is mandatory. However, a business does not need to wait until their taxable activity reaches $15 million before registering voluntarily. Ms. Warren explains.
If, on the other hand, you started business, you just started maybe, or your business now start growing and you realize, you know what, within 12 months, any 12 months period, and within the next 12 months, my business will make $15 million, then you also are required to mandate. You don't have to wait until you get there. By law, you are required to you're mandatory required to register for VAT. Key to note, so it's not profits at $15 million, it's turnover, which is your total sales at $15 million in 12 months.
To voluntarily register for VAT, several requirements must be met. Ms. Warren elaborates.
One of the requirements, you must have a fixed place of business. The next requirement is that you must be trading in taxable supply. And the third one, you must have a proper accounting system. So you must have adequate books and records in place already with your normal trade. And that is because, of course, VAT is a policing tax and it's a tax collected on behalf of states. So record keeping is very critical to VAT.
VAT can also be mandatory for categories of businesses not trading in taxable items.
Apart from the normal industry, there are other persons required to register too. So a promoter of public entertainment, even if, and in their case, they're not tied to the $50 million threshold or voluntary registration. They must register once they're providing any activity that's considered public entertainment, right? So even if it's a one-off activity, in their case, they're required to register. State agencies also required to register, or agency to state, once they're providing taxable activities within their services. The legislation will have provision. So for actual regulatory functions by the agency, no, that will not be taxable. But if they have any other services or activities that are deemed taxable, they are also required. And they're not tied to state agency, like the promoters, are not tied to a specific threshold. So even if the activity is in a given year, $5 million, they're still required to register because the threshold is not tied to them.
Even if you have not registered your business for a trade license or with the business registry, you can still register for VAT. Failure to apply for VAT is liable to a penalty that doubles the amount of output tax payable from the time the person is required to apply for registration or until the person files an application for registration with the GRA. We encourage all persons trading in taxable items to register for VAT.
So I just want to urge persons to come in, continue registering any of the offices, not only at GRA, not at our main Camp Street office at GRA here, but all our branch offices. Send in your applications, get registered before we come and register you.
A person who is registered for VAT must charge VAT on all goods and services at the standard rate of 14%, except where the good or service is zero rated or exempt.
The GRA has implemented a new policy which only allows vaccinated taxpayers to transact business with the agency. Unvaccinated taxpayers who are desirous of entering GRA's offices must first set an appointment and produce a negative PCR test. More in this feature.
To transact business with the Guyana Revenue Authority, taxpayers must prove their vaccination status in keeping with the recently gazetted COVID-19 national emergency measures. Manager of the Public Relations Unit, Marcia Harris, explains that management has implemented new protocols for taxpayers visiting any GRA office. The GRA will allow vaccinated persons immediate access to its premises.
When they come to do transactions with the Guyana Revenue Authority, that they provide proof of vaccination, which will mean their vaccination cards in this instance. And of course, they also have to provide a valid form of identification. And so that will be your driver's license, your national ID, or your passport.
Taxpayers who are unvaccinated will have to make an appointment before accessing GRA's premises.
Well, we have some hotlines that we would have published, and we also have some email addresses that we would have shared for persons who want to make contact with the head office, for persons who want to make contact with any of our branch offices, or for our operations at the wharves. And so we have those email addresses for the persons who are making appointments for Georgetown location, which is headquarters basically. You have appointments at gra.gov.gy. And of course, I know that you're going to show those so that they can have them on screen and they can write them out. You also have wharves at gra.gov.gy, and you have branches at gra.gov.gy. So those are the 3 email addresses that persons can write to when they want to make an appointment, or they can call our switchboard or receptionist, and the telephone numbers are the ones that they will usually call all the time, but it's just the extensions that they need to remember. And so they can call 227-6060 or 227-8222. And the extensions to call once you would have dialed those numbers, the extensions that you will punch in are 1502, 1506, or 1507.
Taxpayers are advised to be clear on which department they would like to visit to conduct business when making an appointment.
So if it's for license, then you need to ensure that you're telling us that your appointment is for the license department because you want to do registration, or you want to have your driver's license renewed, whatever the case may be, but you need to be clear on that so we will know how to route your call so that you can speak with the right person and we don't have to be transferring you to different places.
Similarly, when making an appointment through the email option, taxpayers are advised to be clear on what type of service they would like to access.
If you explain your situation clearly, then we can route that email to the right department, and they will in turn make contact with you. So we're also asking persons to ensure that they indicate in the email, if they were to use the email route, that they indicate their a contact number, just in the event that the officer needs to call them to clarify any issues that they may have with the appointment.
Taxpayers are encouraged to contact Tax Advisory Services section for advice on tax matters via email taxadvisory@gra.gov.gy.
For persons who want to make regular queries like they usually make, they can do so by making contact with the very telephone numbers that we mentioned before, which is 227-6060 and the 227-8222. They can call those numbers, and then they can get on to the Tax Advisory Services section now, which will provide them with tax advice on any issue they may, tax-related issue, of course, that they may need advice on. And so the extensions that they can dial to get a Tax Advisory Services section, they can use 8000, which will link them to the Hunt group, where what happens there is that once you dial 8000, then your call is transferred or it bounces across all the extensions that are available in that section, so that if somebody is on a call, and you wouldn't have to be on hold all the time. So the call will bounce around until somebody picks up the call. Or if you don't want to use the hunt group, which is 8,000, then you can use the direct extensions, which are 1200, 1201 to 1204. 1201 to 1204 are the ordinary extensions.
These new visiting measures took effect from August 9, 2021. The new GRA visiting measure applies to all GRA's integrated regional tax offices, wharves, transit sheds, and headquarters.
The Guyana Revenue Authority is pleased to introduce to you our optimal revenue management system. You don't have to stand in line, file your tax online. At GRA now, it's a fact. You could go online and file your tax. Stay home, don't worry, just relax. Stay safe and file your tax. Save money and time, you don't have to stand in line. Never miss a deadline. At GRA, you can file your tax online. The Optimal Revenue Management System is an improved and user-friendly software that facilitates online services and the management of your tax affairs from your homes or offices. With this powerful and flexible solution, we provide comprehensive and flexible online services, thereby reducing the cost of compliance. Visit the GRA resource page www.gra.gov.gy/optimal to find out more. Sign up and register for an Optimal account at eservices.gra.gov.gy. At GRA, you can file your tax online.
Hi, I am Balwan Prasad, driver for the past 10 years. Over the years that I have been driving, I always make sure that I buckle up, I observe the 5C, and most importantly, make sure that I renew my driver's license at least 3 months before the expiration date.
Thanks for staying with us. We will now join our tax specialist to answer a few common questions we received from taxpayers.
Welcome to your question in focus this week. We're joined by tax specialist Carlita Edwards, and we will be talking about dealer's general license. So Carlita, do I have to obtain a license from the GRA if I import and sell motor vehicles?
An individual who imports and sells motor vehicle is required by law to obtain a dealer's general license from the Guyana Revenue Authority. That person will be permitted to use not more than 4 trade plates.
All right then, so how can a dealer's general license be obtained from the GRA?
The applicant must submit a written request to the senior manager of the License Revenue Office. They must submit their registration or the articles of incorporation, and they must also complete an application form.
Okay, great. So what are the obligations of a dealer?
As a dealer, that person is required by law to comply with Section 60 and Section 69 of the Income Tax Act, which require them to submit all their individual income tax return and pay all quarterly advance taxes.
Okay, and finally, Carlita, what is the fee payable for a dealer's general license and trade plates?
As a result of the 2020 budget, the dealer's license was reduced from $200,000 to $150,000. And each trade plate now costs $15,000 instead of $20,000.
Thank you, Carlita. For more information on a dealer's general license, contact the numbers listed at the end of the program.
And with that, we've come to the end of the program. Before I go, I must remind you of our email address, grapublicrelations@gmail.com. And we also invite you to visit our website, www.gra.gov.gy, and follow us on social media for more information. Be sure to tune in next week, same time and place, for a focus on GRA. Thank you for watching. I'm Nikisha Castello. See you next time.